Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network. It's brought to you, of course, by Casamigos Tequila. And on this holiday weekend, what's better than Casamigos Tequila? Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it and drink it responsibly. As we hit the Memorial Day weekend, the first time historically that you take a look at the baseball season and where it is. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the Rangers in game number 2 this evening. There's always, when you get this late into the postseason and into a conference final, there's always overreaction to each individual game, and especially to a game 1 loss at home. You've heard everything from the ice wasn't right to the Rangers had too much time off to blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is they got outplayed. Their goaltender played well. Rangers hit a couple of posts. They hit one, Rangers 2. But I thought they outplayed the Rangers. I thought they were the better team. And although it was only 1-0 before a fluke goal that the Rangers put in their own net, one, of course, disallowed, that, of course, Micheletti, who has been incredible. I mean, how about Micheletti predicting that would happen, too? Saying that, hey, they are the ones who get all the goalie interference. It'll happen again. It happens in game 1, and the goal is disallowed. I'm sure they weren't happy with that up in Boston. But was disallowed. Soft goal, not even a soft goal, an errant goal goes in. Now it's 2-0. Open net makes it 3. I'm not saying it was a 3-0 game, but it was a game that I thought they were the better team. And the Rangers just have to get better. They have to get crisper on the power play. They have to get more aggressive in the offensive end of the ice. And they're going to have their hands full because it's a good team. That's the bottom line. So I think these games are going to be competitive. It looks that way. And, one game doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, I wouldn't want to go down 2-0 to this team at home, but I honestly don't think, and I know I'm saying that after already visiting team 1, but the point I was making the other day was that I don't think home ice is going to be that important here because I think the Rangers are going to feel very comfortable on the road, and clearly the Panthers feel very comfortable on the road. They've been a very good road team. So they are a tough physical group. Everybody knew that. Everyone said that. Everyone predicted that, so it didn't surprise anybody. I don't think it's about being more physical. I think it's about being just more aggressive in philosophy offensively than anything else. Plus, this is a good team. Let's be honest. And the Rangers got some breaks in that last series. They really did. So, interesting game 2 this evening. And a game that you look at and say, oh, I can't go down 2-0. This team seems so good. Hey, take them one game at a time. All these games seem to be close. Very few games are one-sided. And that's where we are right now. The basketball hasn't really gotten interesting yet. I mean, the fact that last night the Celtics went up 2-0, not a surprise listen, the Pacers should have won game 1. They gave game 1 away. When you are up 3 points with the ball and they are in foul mode where they must foul, and you turn the ball over to them twice in the final 20 seconds that way, you have to be ashamed of yourself. I mean, all you have to do is catch the ball and you go into the foul line. They turn the ball over twice in that regard. I mean, that would make me sick. So they gave away game 1, losing it in overtime. And then game 2, things didn't break right once the middle of the game. And, of course, Halliburton, what happened to him. So they got their hands full right now. I don't think that series is going that far. I think the Celtics will win a game there and probably win it in 5. The other series looks to be very competitive. That's where we are. And on this Memorial Day weekend, we get to baseball. Now, let's take the good first. We have the good and the bad. We have the good and the really bad. We have the good and the ugly. This Yankee season's gone really well, considering the injury to Cole, considering They haven't had LeMahieu. They have gotten a lot from a lot of people. Soto's been brilliant. I mean, let's be honest. They both have played to MVP numbers. I mean, right now you could make the case that it's Judge, Soto, and I guess Tucker. He's got 17 homers already for the MVP in the American League. Soto and Judge could battle all the way. Judge has jumped back in a big way. He's hit 8 homers in his last 50 at-bats. 12 homers in his last 100 at-bats. 8 homers in his last 50 at-bats. So I told you about 3 weeks ago, let's see how many times this year they wind up hitting homers in the same game. I told you I went back and looked how many times Manley Maris did it in 61. They did it 14 times. 14 times they hit home runs in the same game. Not back-to-back, 14 times in the same game. 10 times back-to-back. So Judge and Soto have something to run at. Now, I'm going to make this about evaluation. I'm not going to make it about Hal's comments, but if you're a Yankee fan, you didn't love Hal's comments because they basically told you, hey, this payroll is unsustainable. Well, if this payroll is unsustainable, how are you going to turn around and pay Soto? You can shed some guys here at the end of the season. You can shed a pretty good amount of salary. You could probably shed somewhere upwards of $80 million in salary. But Soto's going to want $50 million a year. So when you talk about other logical people who are moving up in salary and have to be paid, or any additions, you're going to have a higher payroll, when you consider this payroll unsustainable. So that is going to give Met fans something to be excited about, which they haven't had anything to be excited about. And as I told you, as we take this look on Memorial Day weekend, where the Yankees at 35-17 played very well, especially of late. The Mets at 21-28 have played very badly, especially of late. This season is going to be one that is going to be very hard for Cohen to digest, because it is going to be a season where there is complete apathy for his team and surrounding his team. And everything is about the Yankees. When the Rangers are done, before we get to football training camp, there is still a pretty good gap of a couple of months, and that is going to belong completely and solely to the New York Yankees. There'll be other news here and there about the Knicks and different things, but it is going to belong completely to the Yankees. There's going to be a buzz about them. There's going to be an excitement about them. There's going to be things to talk about them. What can they get from Cole? Who's going to be better, Judge or Soto? Is there any way to sign Soto for next year? What about this guy? What about that guy? What about this? What about that? What about some of the young arms and how they've pitched? And they've pitched very well. I mean, the kids in their rotation have done really well. They've been at the top of the league. I mean, one has anyway. He's been one of the big surprises in his last 7 starts, he's 6-0. And, they've been really, really good. Pretty much the rotation's been good all the way through. And although I worry about Holmes, and I do, and he got off a little fortunate because that first weekend in Houston, when the Yankees swept him 4, he could have been beaten twice when he wasn't with saves. He got very fortunate. But that happens sometimes. Sometimes you get an atom ball, sometimes the ball bounces in the right place. Sometimes you throw guys out at the plate, which happened in that game in the first time. Then the second time, they missed a double down on left field line by an inch. They put the ball to the track. They hit the ball hard. They made some great plays in the field, the Yankees did. But the Yankees needed to get left-handed for balance and left-handed for power, and they've done both, and now they hit home runs. Again, now they have 3 guys who have a lot of home runs. They have guys who can hurt you with home runs. Verdugo has 11 doubles and 6 homers. That's 17. I told you I thought he'd get 50 extra base hits. He's got 17 a third of the way through. that would be 51. I think the homers will go up a little. I think he'll have 35 doubles. I think he'll have 20 home runs. He's got 6 right now. Stanton's been productive. He's hit home runs. Obviously, Judge and Soto have home runs. One has 13, one has 14. You know, they've gotten very little out of second base so far. He'll hit because he's always hit, so I don't fret that. Volpe's been pretty good. Cabrera's done a nice job. And remember, if they get Dominguez back, that gives them another bat that they can put in the rotation and also give guys days off and gives them some depth and overcome an injury and everything else. Plus, eventually Cole's going to come back to a rotation that has pitched really, really well. You know, a couple of guys, you know, you look and you see Wheeler. And Wheeler always bothers me because I was so fond of him personally. He was such a nice kid, really nice kid. And he's become such a good pitcher. But how about the year Seth Lugo's having? I mean, a brilliant year, 7-1, great whip. I mean, tremendous year. One of the big surprises. And how about the year, you know, that Chris Sale's having? What a comeback season for him too. And you look on the downside. How about Acuna Jr.? How bad he's been? 3 homers, 12 RBIs. I mean, last year his numbers were astronomical. His OPS is down 450 points. It happens. You know, Olsen and Acuna have had terrible years to this point, and the Braves have still got a good record. Not as good as the Phillies, but a good record. And those guys haven't hit it all yet, not compared to what they did last year. I mean, last year their numbers were insane. But everything is going very well. The Orioles are going to give you a fight for the division. But at 35-17, they're in very good shape. They allow Cole to come back in the regular season at his own pace, without any problems in that regard. They've gotten such nice performances from the youngsters in the rotation. As I said, I don't trust the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's always got depth and it's always got quality arms. I don't consider Holmes a big closer. Now, you talk about sensation. That Miller in Oakland is unbelievable. I mean, how many phone calls do you think how many phone calls do you think Oakland gets for a guy doing what he is doing? I mean, his numbers are staggering. They are absolutely staggering what this guy's done. Now, he's not going to have the number of saves. Mason Miller's not going to have the number of saves that other guys are having because he's on the A's. So he's not going to get as many chances, obviously. But he's had 9 saves in 9 attempts. He's pitched 22 innings and struck out 42 batters, a 0.77 whip. And in 22 innings, he has allowed, I believe 7 hits. 11 hits in 22 innings. 6 walks and 42 strikeouts. That is unbelievable. And he throws the ball. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, he's 25 years old. This is only he was in the majors last year for a couple of games. Pitched 10 games in the majors last year. Actually started some games, which, happens with these guys. Then they realize he's a reliever. He threw 33 innings last year. And he got hit pretty hard because he walked the ballpark. He had 16 walks in 30 innings. That's a lot. He's gotten the walks down this year some, and his strikeouts have been unbelievable, and he's been overpowering, absolutely overpowering. So if you haven't seen him, check him out. He is really, really something special. But again, you couldn't be anywhere, you couldn't be more in the witness protection program than to be where he is. The kid in Pittsburgh throws really hard. He throws half his pitches 100 miles an hour. He just came up from LSU. He's the LSU kid. Just came up to the majors. He's pitched like 3 times already. I mean, he's got great stuff. Maybe he'll be the next Clemens or something like that. Who knows? But that reliever has really caught everybody's eye. He really has. But back to the Yankees for a second. And right now, as they get ready to open up a trip on the West Coast in San Diego this evening, they're things are going great. I mean, they couldn't be happier with what's going on right now. They're getting consistent starting pitching. They're getting enough out of the bullpen. They're getting wonderful power. They're getting productivity up and down the lineup. They're scoring runs, and they're winning. So there's nothing not to like. They see Yu Darvish tonight with the Padres, which will be an interesting challenge. So they're in San Diego tonight as the Mets come home and open up a homestand against the Giants. And to say that the Mets need to, put some life into this organization would be the understatement of the year, because right now you have a holiday weekend coming up and there's nothing dragging you to the ballpark to see the Mets. I mean, there really isn't. There's just this malaise. They painted a bad picture, a non-competitive picture going into the season. Then they lose Senga. Then they have all this swirling around Alonso. And then Diaz doesn't come back strong. He comes back not pitching well, to the point where you have to take him out of the closer role. And that creates just a nightmare. Then you have these guys in huge slumps who cannot get out of their own way and can't get out of the slumps, led by, of course, Lindor, who just cannot get anything done. And here you are at 21-28. You're already 9 games behind the Braves. You're already 15 games behind the Phillies, who have the best record in baseball. You're in 9th place already in the wild card. And there's not a lot of optimism. You don't have Diaz to anchor the bullpen. You've gotten a wonderful year out of Garrett. The starting pitching, which got off okay, has started to come back to the pack now. And you were always walking a lot of people. You were good in terms of home runs and hits. You weren't giving up a lot of hits. You weren't giving up a lot of homers. You were just walking too many people. Now that's starting to fade away. And you have an organization right now where a lot of those guys in that room think that they're most likely going to get dealt. Because first of all, some of them are going to get dealt. As they paint a picture of an organization looking to evaluate and make the right moves, but do it at a smart and controlled level and controlled pace. Problem with that is you're sharing the town with a team that has 2 of the top 4 or 5 players in all of baseball in the same lineup and is now off hot. And they happen to be a storied franchise to begin with. And now here they are bouncing back from an 82-80 season, and the ballpark will be pulsating all summer while your ballpark will be empty. Soon they'll have archery practice at Citi Field. Attendance is terrible, and it's going to get worse. And they have to make decisions about, we're going to keep Alonso, we're going to trade him away. We're going to start cleaning the house and get rid of guys like Marte and McNeil and guys like this. They haven't had their catcher who's a good young player. Third base isn't working out for Beatty. Vientos is going to try and, I think, win. He's going to try and win the job. I don't know if he'll be consistent enough to win the job. He's got some pop. We'll see if he can play every day. There's nothing to hang your hat on. I mean, Nimmo's a nice player. He hustles. He's a nice guy to have on your team. Lindor's going nowhere, but boy, it's hard to rally around Lindor right now, who has been in this prolonged slump, especially from the left side, all season. I mean, this has just not gone away at all. It has never picked up. I mean, he's not hitting 140, but he can't get going. You're just not getting any feeling that he's getting, that he's coming alive. I mean, he's got 7 home runs. I understand that. He's going to hit home runs. We know he's going to hit home runs. He's a shortstop who can hit home runs, who can knock in runs. He'll play every day. We know that. But he has been just dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. He's hitting 203. And he's had 200 at-bats. He's got 7 homers and 23 RBIs. He's got a 634 OPS. I haven't looked to see how bad left-right is. Let me take a peek. Versus right, he is 7 for 36, which is... Versus left, he's 7 for 36, which, you know what, is 194. Now, he's only been up 36 times, which is amazing. He's been up 197 times. He's only been up 36 times right-handed. So he's been batting left-handed all year. He's 33 for 161. 205. And he's got a 274 slugging percentage, which is 274 OPS and a 333 slugging percentage. You got an on-base percentage of 275 and a batting edge of 200 and a slugging percentage of 333. The numbers are just dreadful. Now, he hasn't been up a lot right-handed, and last year he hit great right-handed. And he showed a lot of power right-handed. He was hitting a home run every 10 at-bats right-handed. This year he only has 1 home run, 36 at-bats right-handed, but he hasn't been up much. He hasn't seen much left-handed pitching. But it's 200 at-bats now. Something's got to give. I mean, how much longer? It's not like they're going to not wait. As a matter of fact, they're going to see a left-handed pitcher tonight when the Giants come to town with Harrison. But maybe that gets Lindor going. But he's got to get some energy. And I don't have a problem with him batting first and moving Nimmo down because Nimmo was producing some power and producing RBIs. I don't have a problem with that. But he has got to get going because without him, this team is not going to move. I've made it very clear how I feel about Alonso. I think the Mets are making a mistake with him, but I kind of get the idea now. And his slump hasn't helped. I got a feeling that they're going to trade him. I really do. And that's going to leave a big void. Because the one thing he's done is he's played every day, and he has hit with tremendous power and consistency since he's gotten here. He has been at the top of the sport since he's gotten here. He's proved he can play in New York. He's proved he can play in when the lights are brightest. He can play in. He can hit in the end of the game. He can hit in the clutch. He's hit a lot of home runs. His first base play is not bad. He plays a lot. One thing about him and Lindor, they both play every day. I would look to keep him and build around him and Lindor. Now, listen, I'm not against trading Lindor, but you're not going to get anything for him right now, and you're not going to get anybody to take that contract. Plus, you get the idea they like Lindor. So to trade him when he's down like this would be a big mistake anyway, because you're not going to get any value for him. But right now, tell me what is going to excite you about this Met team. Senga has been pushed back. It looks like he might not be back now. I'm waiting for them to say that he's down for the year, because right now, they already forgot about June. They're already now back into July. Next thing you know, it'll be August. At August, what are we doing? So Senga's been pushed back. Diaz has been a mess. Their veteran players, for the most part, have not hit. Their highest batting average is 260. I think the next one of an everyday player is like 220 something. They don't have any kid that they're ready to bring up and excite everybody. They have to do it with their money. And yes, that makes Soto a very attractive target for them next year and a very logical target for them next year. But that's next year. And that question is not going to get answered during this season. And I don't know where that's going to go. Do I think the Yankees are going to sign him? Knowing Boris, do I think they're going to sign him in the regular season? No. Because they'd have to give Boris exactly what he wants, because otherwise he won't do it. So the idea that that's open to some, movement on each side, that's nonsense. There's no way Boris would sign for anything except top dollar during the season. We know what his game plan is. And he's got a guy who could wind up with an MVP this year and maybe a World Series, who is right now playing as well as, just about anybody. I mean, he and Judge are just, doing what they're supposed to do, playing like the best players in the sport. And I'm sure this is a lot of fun in this town for Soto, playing in front of huge crowds, playing in front of adoring fans, being in first base, being in the middle of this power lineup, being in the same lineup with Judge. All this stuff has got to be thrilling for him. And he has shown, an incredible all-around game so far. He has shown a completeness. His defense has been good. His arm has been solid. His approach at the plate is extraordinary. At-bat after at-bat after at-bat. He gives no at-bats away. He is so controlled and under such control at the plate all the time. He's got extreme power. He's a very good hitter. He checks every box. That's how good he's been. I mean, he's been a better player than we probably all thought he was. And we all knew he was really good to begin with. So as you hit this first measuring point of the season, it couldn't be better for the Yankees. It's everything they could have hoped for. You look at the numbers. You look at the numbers in the rotation. And you just, if you're the Yankees, you just smile. Yes, you don't have the best pitcher in the league in Cole, but right down the line. Right down the line, your numbers are, they're tremendous. You couldn't be happier. Really, all the way down the line. The lowest of the five, of course, has a 329. Stroman's going to be better on the road than he is at home, but his numbers overall are good. He's going to give up a couple too many home runs. Schmidt is a battler. He's exactly what his temperament says he is. He's been really solid. 2.59 ERA, 61 strikeouts in 55 innings, a 1-1 whip. I mean, and obviously Luis has been masterful. 6-1, 2.1, 1-0 whip. I mean, anything you look at, 70 strikeouts in 55 innings. His last 6 starts, 6-0 with a 1.52 ERA. He has been at the top of the league. He has been everything you could have possibly hoped for. He's been that good in every way. So, from their standpoint, to be able to get to this level and be hitting on all these cylinders, having your hitters do the right thing, having Soto settle in and be this comfortable, having Verdugo settle in and be this comfortable, getting the year they're getting out of Stanton, having their young pitchers jump into the rotation and do what they've done. It's been very, very good, with no reason to think as the season wears on that it won't get better, or at least as good. And then conversely, there's just not a lot. There's just not a lot to sell anybody. And Stearns has made it clear that he's evaluating and nobody's safe. And anybody could be packed out. I mean, if you're sitting there and you're a guy struggling like a McNeil right now, you probably think you're gone. If I was McNeil, I think I was gone. If I was Marte, I think somebody's going to want me in a pennant race and, jump on me. Somebody might look for Martinez, same thing. Martinez, bat's still alive. If you can throw him into a pennant race, who knows? Now, Lindor's already making a lot of money. I don't think anybody touches that contract. And then Alonso is a bigger situation. That's a bigger trade. But does that happen, or do you decide to keep him? If you're not going to keep him, you might as well get something for him. Do I know what their decision is? No. I think everything points to them trading him. But when that happens, think about what this team's going to look like the rest of the season. And what message are you sending? See, the owner doesn't know what message to send now. He doesn't know. He's gotten himself in some trouble because he's tried to backtrack from things he said, and he's not sure exactly what message he wants to send right now. He wants to tell him, hey, we're still in this, but it sounds stupid. If you're not going to add things and you're losing things by the day, how are you going to be in it? Plus, if you're trading things off, how do you sell that too? So it's a very, very tough sell for them right now. They're selling the future, but they don't even have their future direction set yet. Now, what they can say is, we're sitting on a pile of money. That's our message. We're sitting on a pile of money and we can go wild at any moment. That's basically the message. We're not any good. We're tough to watch. We're boring as hell. We don't score before the 6th inning half the time. We don't have any named players except for a couple who just can't get out of their own way. But we are sitting on a pile of money, and you never know when we're going to strike. That's basically the message. Does that give them some hope? Yes. It's not going to help you this August, but it does at least give the Met fan hope that there's a better day coming if they can make the right moves. It's just that there's not anybody there right now. There's not a young player right now that sends you, gives you that right feeling that you can build around. The feeling is we got to go purchase that guy. You know, the fact that all your attention is dedicated to the right fielder of the Yankees is not great. It might be realistic, but it's not great. Could I see him with the Mets next year? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be a Yankee? Well, considering the year he's probably going to have and the agent that he does have and the comments that Hal's made, it doesn't look promising. But that doesn't mean they aren't going to go have a great run this year. And this year, it's not about making the playoffs. This year is about making the series. They haven't been there in a long, long time. And there should be nothing in this American League that keeps them. The Indians are overachieving. They're having some guys play over their head. They're having some guys play really well. They're getting wonderful pitching. They are playing really good baseball. They don't know how to do that as an organization. They've been well schooled in that regard. But they're not an unbeatable squad by any stretch of the imagination. So there's no reason that the Yankees can't take this a long way this year. And anything less is going to be bitterly disappointing. But here on Memorial Day, they're riding the crest of the wave, and the Mets are underwater. Unfortunately, that's the message, and that's the state of the union as we hit Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it.